I call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Stacy, would you take the roll call?
Roberta Garlock.
Here.
Arthur Gilbert. Bridget Hosky.
Here.
Stephen Idarola is absent. Tony Mancini.
Here.
Gail Tagliatella is absent. Leilani Perry is absent. And Arthur Kelly.
Here.
And we have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And if you like, I can read the call of the meeting, if I can find it. If we need to.
Go ahead.
Call of the special meeting, West Haven Charter Revision Commission agenda notice of special meeting. The West Haven Charter Revision Commission will conduct a special meeting on Tuesday, May 12th, 2026 at 7 p.m. in the City Council Chambers, 3rd floor, City Hall, 355 Main Street, West Haven.
Thank you. If we can go to approval of the meeting minutes from May 7th, take a few minutes to look them over.
I make a motion to approve them.
Motion was made by Commissioner Hosky, and I have a second. Second by Roberta Garlock. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. Discussion and action number 4 on suggestions and recommendations from the City Council, the Mayor, department heads, and the public regarding charter revision. Last week there was some discussion on one of the line items regarding the Mayor's role and responsibility in investigations. I was going to let
Yes, thank you.
Attorney Cassini explain that.
In your stapled packet, you'll flip through and recognize that as action item 8. I've also given you, in addition to your agenda, a bit of a run of show here for what we'll go through. And that's the third that you see. We had approved action item 8, pending discussion around the language in section 3, subsection G. So I'll allow you a moment, flip to that. And as you hit action item 8, you'll see on the third page there's a green portion. We sprung for color today. It's not the first page of action item 8. No, it's the third page. I've given you the entire thing. If you look, it's the second clause on that page 3. It's the one highlighted in green.
No. Gee, yeah, I don't either.
Sure you do. Hold on, I'll come around and show you. Everybody's got it.
Okay, thank you.
So by way of reminder and for our viewers at home, the conversation was around the language in subsection G, and the question pending was, what does it mean for the duties of the mayor to be taken up assumed by the chair of the city council. And in discussion with the current chair of city council and review of the ordinance that led to this adoption, I was convinced that this section is self-referential but doesn't live outside of it. So the duties prescribed to the mayor in Chapter 8 Code of Ethics are only involved in the Code of Ethics procedure. For subsection G to make sense, you've got to read it in connection with all the other subsections. And specifically, in the event that the mayor is subject of the ethics investigation, then the duties of the mayor, and I've added the words in this Chapter 8, shall be assumed by the chair of the city council. I've been assured by the chair of the council that that's what the intent was when this language was discussed and passed before. And so the duties that are being mentioned that would be passed on or assumed by the chair are those duties that the mayor undertakes during an investigation by the Board of Ethics.
And if the mayor is the subject of the investigation, the chairman of the council takes
That's
over
right,
those
and you can understand the logic of that.
Yes.
If you look at F, the mayor may issue a response within 30 days of the receipt of the board's recommendation. Well, if that recommendation is to censure or other the mayor, then there makes little sense in having the mayor issue a response there too. And so that responsibility, the duties, including that one, would be taken up by the chair of the city council. And there are no other duties outside of those prescribed by the Code of Ethics and the administration of the Code of Ethics that are considered by that subclause G.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes. So I understand what everyone keeps saying, what the intent was, what the intent was, or what the intent was. I that doesn't matter because in 20 years, those people who can verify what the intent was may no longer be in the city or on the council to be able to describe what
Yep.
the intent was.
Understood. That's why you see I added in these words in this Chapter 8.
So any responsibilities that
We
she would
can't
have.
be answering my question before I've asked it.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said you're answering a question I haven't asked yet. So thanks. I'm going to say it when I get a minute to.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So when you say that is in Chapter 8, so you can so you can just say what you were going to say. So when you said you've added, in the event the mayor who is subject of the ethics investigation, then under such circumstances, the duties of the mayor in the Chapter 8 shall be assumed by the chair of the city council. So where would that take the person? Like, where would you then go to see what that is? Because I'm still reading. It says Chapter 8.
The Code of Ethics is Chapter 8.
So that's in here where?
If you flip back 2 pages, that's the beginning of the Code of Ethics.
So why was it different for the mayor to say that and then everyone else has? I guess I just don't understand why.
So
split up.
the page before, under the Code of
Right.
Ethics Administration, C says the board shall report to the mayor its findings as to whether or not a violation of this code has occurred. And the mayor may thereupon take such action as deemed appropriate in the discretion of the mayor. So if the mayor was a subject of the investigation, the council chairman would take over that duty. And any other duties she would have or communication she would have.
So my question is still the same, is that the way I read it is that the moment that they're under investigation, their duties would be taken.
Their duties involved with the investigation with the Board of Ethics. And that's why I put in as with under chapter 8. Any more questions? Okay, I'd like a motion to approve action item 8 with the new language for subsection G. Motion by Gilbert, second by Garlock. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. Next one.
Even do action item number 2? Yeah, go ahead.
Action item 2, Mr. Chair. There are not a lot of changes in here. There are a few minor changes. The major issue we'll get to in a moment. This is the chapter where we consolidate all of the election terms and election cycles, start dates, etc. Minor change in 2A. Corp Counsel pointed out that we had the term biennial, and now we may have quadrennial elections. So there could be either biennial or quadrennial, as the case may be. So that's a minor change we made there. The other change we made was in section 6A1. We had established a situation where the council chair would succeed the mayor unequivocally, and now we have the council chair succeeding the mayor until a successor is elected and certified following the next biennial municipal election, and that person elected would serve for the remainder of the term of office. So we now created the election. It is effectively a special election during a regular election, so it's not a standalone election. And so the council chair remains a member of the council, but essentially serves as acting mayor until such time as the new mayor is elected. Now, the acting mayor could be running for mayor as well, but it gives the acting mayor the option simply to remain on the council.
So they would elect a new chairman of the council.
Only if he ran for mayor. So that's why we have the chair pro tempore. So while the acting mayor is acting, while the chair is acting as mayor during this interim period, the chair pro tempore would be acting as the president or the presiding officer of the council.
Correct. Okay.
Once the election is completed, once the new mayor is certified, the council chair would resume his or her seat as the chair of the council, does not give up the seat. If the chair of the council is actually running for mayor and elected, then there'd be a vacancy. The chair pro tem would be the chair, and then you'd have to elect a new chair pro tem. Right. The other thing we did is in subsection B on the next page, 6B. There were 3 different schemes for dealing with vacancies. And as we were looking at it, we realized that there were slight differences between them, and we decided that it made sense to recommend to you that we just have one scheme for filling vacancies. If there's a vacancy on the council, board of ed, or any other elected position, I see the letter R is missing from the word other, that they all be handled the same way. So that when there's a vacancy, the mayor would recommend to the city council a name to fill the vacancy for the appointment for the remainder of the unexpired term, subject to confirmation by a majority vote of the council within 30 days following the vacancy, and they shall elect a successor. The successor shall conform to the qualifications of the section and section 4 above. The individual appointed shall be chosen from the political party, there's a word missing here, of the vacant, of the prior office holder. So you'd have to appoint somebody of the same political party, but all three of them would have a process that's the same. There was some silence in one of the sections about just how the name would come up. It was in the case of the city council, where the city council had the responsibility, but it didn't say how you generated the name for the successor. The other two provisions had the mayor making the appointment, and this way we made all three consistent in that regard.
Okay.
Those are the only changes in 2. And we had some changes that we approved before. The voting machines, we ended up going with voting methods, but those are the only 2 changes since we last addressed action item 2.
Okay. Do we need to approve this or just wait until we've finally approved the final draft?
Either way, you can approve it as amended, and then you'll approve it again on Thursday in the final draft.
Yeah, you've been going through section by section, even when there are subsequent revisions to that section.
So does it make sense just to do it Thursday?
If you'd like to, you can.
If you give me if there's a consensus view that you're in favor of this, I'll put it into the document. You could approve it formally on Thursday.
Okay.
I would just make the motion, so
Yeah,
it's on.
okay.
There's no harm in doing it tonight
No.
also.
All right. Can we get a motion to accept the changes to action item 2 as presented by the attorneys tonight?
So moved.
Second? Second Mancini. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you. Yeah, the next section is item number 7, action item number 7. Make sure I have the latest version of it here.
Isn't 7 under action item 2?
No.
Now keep flipping. It's the one that presents as mostly
Oh, is
blue
this-
on the first page.
This a new 7?
Yeah.
There's additional language here and a potential discussion or conversation to be had about moving something to the end of it.
Okay.
Let me see it. Yeah, I had it here. Yes, this is the one. What we've done here is I was proposing a much more robust scheme for addressing the issue of establishment of departments, and perhaps if the commission had a longer period of time, we could look at that in a more thoughtful way. And so we've then ended up cutting back on that. What this chapter represents is a reorganization by function, which you have already seen. But there's a couple of minor changes on the third page after section 4A, and the numbers seem like they're off. They're not really off. 4A, 4.6 is on one page. Then you go to the next page, it's Romanet 7 and 8. Romanet 7 and 8 really are expansions of the responsibilities to certify the availability of appropriated funds. And the next 2 sections are administrative elements, which you can do without having them in the charter. That the authority is really established in Romanet 6, that requires the finance director to indicate that there are sufficient funds to pay any contract or purchase order obligations. There's a clause in here, unless otherwise exempted under the ordinances pertaining to purchasing. If you have a low cost item, it may not require a certification. Whatever the purchasing ordinance says, if there's a small purchase provision, that would be exempt from this. And so we will leave Romanet 6 as a standalone. Well, it won't be a standalone. It follows 1 through 5, which we didn't change. That's why they didn't show up in this document. But 7 and 8 are out because those are kind of administrative things. We'll leave it up to the finance director, the mayor, and the finance director to determine whether or not there's a need for any additional administrative requirements under that provision. We move the liability provision onto item number 6. This is I believe, a new provision. Yeah, it's a new provision that basically holds public officials, employees of any department, members of boards and commissions liable for any payments where they knowingly instruct or vote to instruct the director of finance to draw upon appropriations other than as legally charged, so that if there is an illegal order, the people who make the illegal order, either individual officials or boards or commissions, would be personally liable for those actions. It's a pretty common provision in charters throughout the state of Connecticut. It was missing in this charter. Minor change on the next page where we delete some language which required a municipal suspense tax book to be subject to approval by the Commissioner of the Department of Revenue Services. We simply say, as consistent with the general statutes. I don't think that Mark Boughton is approving local municipal suspense tax books. I represent him, but I didn't ask him that personally, but I don't think that's the case. So we took that language out as kind of being a language that really didn't make any sense in the modern era. See if there's anything else. Oh, that's it in that section. In action item 7.
So can I get a motion to approve action item 7 with the changes presented by the attorneys tonight? We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mancini. Motion by Art Gilbert. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
And the next item is action item number 11. This is the budget section. Let's see what the changes are. What you'll see here is you're going to see, by the way, a lot of what you'll see in the document I handed out tonight is you'll see a lot of capitalized words where there weren't capitalized words, because I've actually gone through the document and capitalized all the defined terms. You'll see some of those in this section since I did these revisions since that time. The new provisions in here are the ones that are highlighted in section 1A and 1C. These are requirements that tie into the recommendation that we treat the Board of Education as a department of the municipality of the city. And those sections really make it clear that that all departments, including the Board of Ed and the Superintendent of Schools, have the obligations to submit documents in the way that the charter requires it. So this 1A is the authority to require the budget estimates from departments, see a little typo in there, where the mayor has the ability to require every department. And so there's no ifs, ands, or buts about authority. We thought it was important to lay out, I do this in a lot of charters throughout the state, mayoral authority to request this of any department. And there's no equivocation on that issue. The only other change I'm thinking about making, I'll ask your permission, and we can think about it. If you say fine, I'll move it. We don't have page numbers on this, but if you go just above the capital budget,
I'd like to just ask a quick
please.
question.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the chair of the Board of Education that brings forth the budget and is responsible for it?
It's the
It could
chair
be
and the
true.
superintendent of schools is what I have here.
Oh, it just says each department head, including the chair of the Board of Ed or authorized designee. I just,
No, chair of the Board of Ed and the superintendent of schools.
So you're considering, department head would be the superintendent of school.
Yeah, it could, well, in this case, I don't define the department head. I simply say that it's the chair of the board and the superintendent of schools to make sure the board understands it has an obligation and
Yeah,
the-
it doesn't say
it doesn't
superintendent.
say
of schools.
superintendent.
I'm looking at section 1, departmental estimates, subsection A, authority to require budget estimates from departments.
it says,
The
Well,
mayor shall have the power to
on
require.
ours, A is crossed out and it has it as B, departmental estimates.
Look at the paragraph above that.
Okay.
it's in, it's shaded. Shaded.
Yeah, we got it.
Let me see.
I was just reading what B says. So I was just
No, it's in
trying-
there.
okay.
it says it right there.
No, I understand.
Oh, okay,
I've
I see
seen
it.
Down to B.
Right, and I was just, clearly there's a problem with me. I'm just wondering why it says it differently down there and has each department head, including the chair or designee. But
Well, that is a good point. I mean, so since we use it above, why don't we say including the chair and the superintendent?
Just so that B, departmental
So they'll be
estimates,
consistent.
mirrors A, authority to require.
Yeah,
budget
that's a good
estimates.
catch.
Okay.
it doesn't make sense to me.
I butt in, sorry. What are you saying? That is inconsistent or?
Correct. I didn't understand why this line was not similar to.
Well, I
the
just
top.
said we should
No,
correct
asked-
it.
I'm answering the question.
Oh, I'm
that
sorry.
She asked me.
Okay.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So tell me again. So it's inconsistent from one paragraph to the next?
It appears that way to me, and if we agree, we agree. If we don't have to, because
So
I get the feeling
we'll
what we want.
change the language and fix it.
Yeah, I agree to fix it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So are you saying, I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. Are you saying it should say superintendent in the paragraph below, or you say?
Yes, I would assume it would say the same thing.
All right. So do you think the chair should be in there, or should it just be the superintendent?
No, I think the chair should be in there.
Okay. All right. So we just got to make sure it's consistent. Chair and superintendent, chair and superintendent. Okay. All right.
Easy fix. Thank you. It was a good catch.
So the member's recommendation is to mirror subsection B such that the language from subsection A, authority to require budget estimates from departments, is the same.
Yep. Let's see what else there is. Oh, there's
I'd
also.
like to ask another question.
Oh, of course.
So when it comes to the village, I'm not going to get the name right.
Village Improvement Association.
Improvement
Association.
Association.
Who is charged with presenting that budget? Is the president of theirs? Thank you.
I'll pass to,
She shook her head, yes.
oh,
Or is it?
we should answer it verbally so it can
Yes,
be caught.
you're right. So is it the president of the village improvement, or is it the director? I'm not sure what her title is.
She's an executive, I think.
So what you're saying is if it's the Board of Ed as a superintendent and the chairman of the board, would the village improvement be the library director and the chair of the board?
Right. Or do we even have to mention it because it says department heads? I don't know. I'm just being curious if that's okay.
So I guess the department head would be the library director, right? I think technically, rather than the chairperson of the village improvement board. Are they a board or a commission? Board.
Association.
Why don't we ask Councilman Quagliani what happens? He's in these presentations.
So am I, and I don't ever remember. So was I, and I don't ever recall who was charged with bringing forth the budget. And the reason I'm asking, I'm sorry, he asked you a
No,
question.
please
but
continue.
The reason I'm asking Councilman Quagliani is because we've made changes to how things are with them, and I'm just wondering who is the one that's going to be accountable for those changes, because now their budget can't just be the one line, it has to be more robust.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bigger answer. There's a lot of history behind it. So, historically in the past, the library director brought the budget to us and made the presentation with members of the library board in attendance. Period. The library, though, if the mayor is requesting budgets from her department heads, and you're establishing that the library is a department, who picks that department head? I guess is my question.
I'm just giving my opinion. You guys decide what you want, but I think the department head is a library director. So I think that library director is responsible, right? She or he will be the head of operations, and they're responsible for presenting the budget. The library director also reports to the board of the Village Improvement Association. So I would imagine internally that they have a process where that board agrees to the budget before he or she presents it to you. So I think it's the library director. Just my opinion.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The library director is responsible for the day-to-day operations.
And we'll get to that in a minute, because I think what we need to do in that section, when we get to chapter 10 on the Village Improvement Association, which I'm going to suggest that we move into the department section, we don't currently state that the library director is the department head, and we should state that very clearly, to your point. The other thing I want to go back a little bit in this section is, I know at the meeting, and I apologize for not being here last week, you did authorize council to move forward and move away from the newspaper notice requirement. And you'll see in this document, in section 4, for example, that we tie it to the public notice standard. We've established, remember, a definition of public notice, and it includes newspaper publication if you choose to publish in a newspaper. But you can also publish on your website, the town website, or anything else. You could post it in the bodegas of town or whatever you want to do. But you'll see throughout this that we've moved away from the newspaper requirement to public notice, and public notice includes newspaper if you choose it. So it's discretionary now, not mandatory. The other thing I was going to ask you, just above the section on capital budget, fiscal year, I was going to, since we defined fiscal year, it doesn't need to be defined twice. I was going to ask your permission to move it from here to only to be placed in the defined terms. So we were not repeating it twice. I just noticed it as we're going through here that fiscal year is defined here.
So that would strike section 6.
Section 6 will be stricken. When you see the final version, it'll just be contained in the definition, and the footnote in the definition will reference this old section, that this is a consolidation.
Which chapter is that?
This is in our action item number 11, just above part B, go to about the third or fourth page. You'll see it, part B, capital budget, will be in the middle of the page.
There it is. Okay.
Just above it is the definition of fiscal year. But we already define it in the definition section, so I just wanted to let you know that I'm not going to be, it's not a sleight of hand. I will be taking it out and just leaving it in the definition section. That is it for the budget. At the end of this, the last page of this document, there's 2 items in the last page. One of them is, this is miscellaneous provisions. And I know the Corp Council worked on this section, but I'll make one point and then I'll defer to the Corp Council. The point I would make is that if we're treating it like a department, we should move it into the department section. So one, I believe that it should be moved into the department section, and vis-a-vis the conversation we just had, I think we should have an affirmative statement that the library director shall be deemed to be the department head.
And I would want also the expectation that if the Board of Ed has to post their budget within a certain time or they're submitting it to the mayor, to be consistent across all departments, they should have to do the same.
Well, they do as a department.
Will we clarify it in here for the Board of Ed? We don't need to clarify it. I'm just.
We
saying-
could if you'd like, but Board of Eds are very special entities. Very often in charters, you have to underscore that they are departments. Usually, libraries are. I realize that we have a unique situation here in West Haven, and we'll defer to where the commission wants to go. If you want to include them in that same category that we're spelling out the Board of Ed as a department that has been operating in its own way, library the same thing. If we want to put them both in the same category,
That would make it more consistent.
All right,
yes.
then we'll do that.
Thanks.
And I'll defer to you on the rest of the section.
The last section of action item 9, section 5, dealing with retired personnel. Conversation had come up. And the hypothetical is that someone is retired and collecting. Are they precluded then from taking another position elsewhere in the city? And section 5 attempts to address that situation. The addition is only the underscored unless otherwise set forth by ordinance.
Is this consistent with other municipalities that that is the way? That if you retire,
You know, I've done over 30 charters. I've never quite seen a provision like this provision in any other charter. That's not to say there isn't, but it's not the norm. Usually, that kind of policy gets addressed either by ordinance, by collective bargaining agreement, by pension amendment, whatever it may be. This provision is kind of unusual, and adding the provision that you would allow for a modification by waiver, but by ordinance, gives you the flexibility to go around this, because there's, I'm going to tell you something. In all the communities I'm dealing with right now, and I think West Haven is consistent with them, and I know I don't want to speak for the mayor, it's very, very hard to find administrators to serve in local government. The compensation is not as strong as it could be. We have systems that are inadequately staffed, so it's very difficult to find people to head departments. I've seen finance departments with real problems long term in a few of my municipalities. And so if you have a group of retirees that are serving out there that live in the community, they're near the community, and they know the community, and there's an opportunity for them to serve in a post-retirement setting, it makes a lot of sense to provide this prophylactic, to allow for a policy decision to be made by ordinance to bring somebody back and not penalize them or contain them to a 19-hour job. And so then the decisions about how to deal with double dipping and how to deal with prior pension issues would have to be negotiated in real time, but this at least opens the opportunity to bring people back if they want to come back.
so I want to just give an example. So if we have a fireman that's an EMT who retires from the Allentown Fire Department, who retires from the Allentown Fire Department, and then for whatever reason they decide that we are hiring the 911 not operators, the 911 dispatchers, and that person would be able to then go and apply for the job and work it if it's 35 hours, if an ordinance is created and brought to the city council and they vote on it.
If a judgment is made that that person is, whether it's a competitive
I don't know if
exam-
that was a good example.
No,
Sorry.
it's a good example because it's a real job. I'll let the mayor speak, but it's a real job. And if they either compete for the job and are eligible to take the job, then an ordinance could be crafted to allow that person to do it. And it would have to, we're not going to get into negotiating the elements of the ordinance at this point, but that's something for other policymakers to make that decision.
Yeah, that's exactly the type of example. So if somebody's talented and they come on at 20 years old and they retire at 40, but they still want to work for the city, I think this was created probably to avoid double dipping. So as long as that person comes back in the salary of the position that they come back to, and they're not bridging their pension, right? And we would clarify that in the ordinance. We have to clean up an ordinance to allow who can, how the retirement would work. I think we just want to take out the obstacle that you can never do it. But then I think we got to clean up an ordinance, how you do it without, there's nothing to say you can't go into a 401k if you come back, right? And you put into the 401k. You just don't want to bridge your pension.
I make a motion to approve action item 11. Second.
We have a motion by Member Hosky and a second by Member Garlick to approve action item 11 with the amendments suggested by the attorneys. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Steve, can I just ask a question? Concerning the notification on the media, would it be easier just to say any available item to address the public, to let them notify them? So it could be a newspaper or a TV commercial or something of note. Any way we can do that to include everything?
Thank you. The definition we have of public notice covers everything. That's why we use it. Make sure poster published as required by law. Like, for example, we can't obviate the law that says you need to publish this charter in a newspaper, because that's a state law that requires that. But it allows the town clerk, the town and city clerk, to make the decisions about how they can be published. So it could be, appropriate electronic means. It could be a newspaper. It could be whatever. We have broad enough language to allow for the changes in technology. I had somebody tell me recently, 20 years ago, we didn't know what a website is. And so we've used broader language to allow for something we don't know about in the future. I think it's covered, Art. Thank you.
Any other action items?
Potentially, but we have some discussion items before we get to them.
Yep.
Discussion of action item 7 brings up the fire district recommendation. Recommendation number 10, we've approved to change the name where it exists in the charter of the Allentown Fire District. But the more substantive changes regarding the commission, the roles, the duties, and the mayor's role administratively in the process was still pending. So I wanted to open that conversation now. I have some proposed language, but that language that I proposed, if we decide we want to go forward, I'll pass out. But I want to have the conversation first. It struck me when we were reviewing the emergency management provision that the public safety section of the charter makes note that the city shall have a fire department. But the police department section is fairly robust. It outlines the police chief and the police chief's duties. It identifies the police commission, for instance. And the fire section doesn't have that. Of course, we know why. But in 2012, it was when the fire district from Allentown became part of City Hall, so to speak. That relationship changed. And so my recommendation is to review it so that it becomes more consistent within the charter as a fire department. If and when any of the others should follow suit, then it will need to be addressed again if we're specific about Allentown. But I don't think that that's a potentiality that should preclude us from having this conversation now.
All right, so I'd certainly like to see what language you're proposing.
Great. So I'll say one thing and then give you a moment to read. This could potentially implicate not only Chapter 7, departments and department heads and the public safety functions, but Chapter 6 as well, boards and commissions, since it does mention fire commission.
Does this follow what was established originally for Allentown Fire?
Yeah, I'm not creative or clever enough to have come up with this on my own. All of the language you have before you comes out of Chapter 106, the ordinance that itself was the establishment and the operations of the Fire Department of Allentown. It's not the entirety of Chapter 106, but everything you see before you comes only from Chapter 106.
Thank you.
So basically, what you're doing is you're constitutionalizing the current ordinance and the current status of the relationship between the city and Allentown.
Yes, and I've done my best to mirror that which appears in the charter regarding the police chief, and the police commissions. There's an additional component to the fire departments, which is the fire marshal, that the police department doesn't necessarily have.
May I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Council, we do not have a generic fire commission. The only fire commission would be the Allentown Fire Commission. Am I correct on that?
Yes, that's right.
Just want to make sure that's clear. Thank you. It is clear in the draft. I wanted to make sure that was everybody's intent.
And I just want to take the opportunity to make it clear this is specifically for Allentown, as we said, because any other districts, that's a whole separate process, whether it's legislation or vote by. This is only specific to Allentown because, you know, I do get a call from the center saying, if you put fire department in the charter, does that? No, it has nothing to do with the center, has nothing to do with West Shore. This is a resolution that was passed, you know, by the folks of Allentown that already exists. We're just moving it into the charter.
So when that was done back in 2012, their special tax district designation became moot.
No, there's still a special tax district.
There's still a special
They have
tax
a separate
district.
mill rate. They have a special budget. They have separate commissions.
Okay.
But they are under the city's auspice, if you will.
Yep.
We help to manage the fire department. You know, we work with the chief and the fire marshal. They come before the council when they want to make changes to their fees. It's very unique, but they're a city department over here, separate budget, separate mill rate, separate commissioners that help make decisions on, the commission actually just met right before us, and they talk about personnel and the budget, but they're a
Okay.
city department. And the only thing that we are changing is that that the chief also is responsible to the mayor as well, because right now the chief is responsible to the commissioners, but he's a department head. So it gets a little gray when we're defining departments, right? And we ask for the budget from every department, no matter what is a department. The chief has to follow the city's policy with respect to like submitting the budget or managing time cards at the for the
Right.
department, or so we just want to make sure it's clear. It's reports into the commission, but he's also a department head.
Okay.
I have a few
Yes,
questions.
go ahead.
So that's the same as the chief of police? Okay.
So the chief of police is the police commission actually oversees,
Right.
right?
But I didn't know that the mayor, where now you have the mayor is part of that. I didn't know that to be the case with the police department.
So the chief is a department head, right? So, but the police commission hire the police chief.
Right. And so that is different than what would be doing with Allentown.
Correct.
Why? I'm just saying for consistency basis, if we're doing that for Allentown, shouldn't it be the same for the police
For the
department?
police, I think it wasn't clear because it was such a separate entity that the police chief does recognize that he is a department head. And are you suggesting we?
Well, I just read this and which was struck me as I'm fine with it. I
Yeah.
just don't know why, a chief is a chief. So it says there shall be a fire chief appointed by the Board of Fire Commissioners with the approval of the mayor. And I don't believe the mayor right now has that same authority with the police department.
The mayor does not.
And I just for consistency, I'm sorry, my phone's ringing.
That's a good question.
I just don't understand why it would be different.
Yeah. It's a
But we
good
can
question.
mull over it for a couple
No,
of
no,
minutes.
that it's a good question. I
Well,
think
we're meeting Thursday as well, if you want to
I think it's
consider it.
not so gray in the police department, maybe just because naturally they've always been a department of the city. So the police chief considers himself or herself, whoever the police chief may be, as a department head in all aspects of other department heads. I think when it comes to the fire commissioner, the fire commission, the fire chief reports to the fire commission, and it's not always clear that I'm also an administrator that oversees the department. So I was trying to clarify the lines of administration where I didn't have to clarify that in the PD. But you're right, it's
But
not
if they-
consistent.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but right now, if there's a contract being signed for the employment of the fire chief, you would be the one to oversee it, help, you can say no, or yes, or give more vacation time. Like you would have involvement in that, but you don't have involvement, or you or any other mayor would not have involvement with the hiring of the police chief.
Correct.
What their contract is.
Correct. The mayor's an ex officio member, so I attend the police commission meetings. I'll attend the fire commission meetings.
I guess I just think that if it, for consistency basis, that's my thought, is it should be one and the same. The other one I'd like to ask, while we consider that, is why now would we be changing the geographical limits for
That's not
board? Oh, I'm sorry. So Allentown, it could be outside of Allentown, and you can be a fire commissioner.
So when the resolution was created, the whole idea was that you would still have 3 commissioners from Allentown, but you would have 1 alternate commissioner from West Shore and 1 alternate commissioner from the Center District, because they are technically a city department, that someone from the other areas of the city should weigh in because it does impact the city as a whole.
Right. So do we feel that that reads that way still? Because that's what I know. Because what I just read it is, at the time of their appointment, the members of the Board of Fire Commissioners shall be electors of the city of West Haven for at least 1 year and shall reside within the geographical limits previously compromising the Allentown fire. I thought that was telling me that now all 5 have to be in Allentown.
Is there a section for alternate?
No, that's, so I'm just stating that, I'm only saying because I'm reading it now, it would think that we're changing it and that.
So
but
it
could just
should,
be the way I read it.
well, based on what the mayor said, it should say 3 from Allentown District, 1 from West Shore District, and 1 from the Center District for fire commissioners,
Well,
correct?
there's language in your ordinance that speaks to that specifically, and we can just keep adding more from the ordinance to the charter if you'd like. Not everything from the ordinance is in this proposal.
No, and that's fine. I was just saying because this will be brand new and stamped 2026, that maybe does it take out the ordinance that says that now? You know what I mean? I was just double checking how the way I read it.
This will supersede the ordinance. So
Oh, good. I'm glad I asked the question.
That's a great question, and there will be a need to modify the ordinance to not have duplication, so that you don't have an ambiguity between the two if we adopt most of this language.
But if the charter's talking about commission, the charter's talking about commission, we should add the alternate component to it.
I agree. If there's language in the ordinance that's not picked up here, we should pick it up. I agree.
So are there 5 commissioners and 2 alternates?
Currently, yes.
Thank you.
And the proposal is not to change that.
Yeah, no.
That's right. Okay.
Okay, so
I do try to impress you.
So are we're talking 3 from Allentown, 2 from the other districts, and 2 alternates? The alternates, 5 from Allentown.
There's, today is 3 for Allentown, 1 from West Shore, 1 who lives in West Shore, and 1 who lives in the center.
Oh, because not all 5 positions are, have people filling them.
Yeah, so typically there's 3 fire commissions. That's the way the 3 districts were set
Yes,
up.
no,
And then when they came under the city, the thought process, I'm assuming, I wasn't here, was let's add 2 alternates, 1 from the other 2 districts, so that, it's not just Allentown folks making.
so there's
decisions.
only 3 commissioners and then 2 alternates. Got it, thank you. Okay.
Since Fred Brown is an alternate from the center district, he clarified there's 5 commissioners and 2 alternates.
5 commissioners and 2 alternates, but only 3 permanent commissioner spots are filled at the current time. 4 now.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have a vacancy. So there's
right.
5. Yeah, I apologize. The
Are all 5 supposed to be Allentown residents, and the 2 alternates are
Yes.
the? Okay,
I was.
that's what I thought.
Yes.
Thank you.
I was thinking of the other district.
So, okay, any more on this?
So, yes.
Yeah.
So, I would just want the commission to consider that if I believe the mayor should have a say over the departments and what's going on with their contracts. So, because we're saying right here that the fire chief is appointed by the commissioners with the approval of the mayor, I think the mayor should have the same say in the police department because it should spell it out. It's my thought for consistency.
Any other discussion on it? Any other thoughts? I mean, historically, I would think the mayor certainly has had input into the process of selecting police chiefs. Maybe not by charter, but they've been involved.
Well, not by charter, by ordinance. It says that that commission shall be appointed by the mayor. And in the event of a tie, for instance, there's only 4 of them, so if 2 vote yes and 2 vote no on something, then the mayor is the tie-breaking vote.
Okay. All right. So, do we want to have a motion?
Are you ready for a motion, or do you want to talk about more?
Yes,
of it?
no, talk about it. Yeah.
So we can certainly add as little or as much of Chapter 106 as you'd like. I think Attorney Mednick brings up a good point. Yes, addition to the charter specific to this Allentown Fire District will negate portions of this ordinance. And I just want to remind everybody, that's not unique to this. That's going to have a downstream effect in considerable numbers of your proposals. If they get adopted into a new charter, then that will have a knock-on effect to many ordinances that exist right now. So the work will continue in that case.
Okay.
The other thing I would strongly recommend, and I think Corp Counsel already talked about this as well, is that if you approve this evening, and that's aside from the issue that you raised about the police chief, I'd like to separate out approve the entire thing, but from a drafting perspective, as long as the council, the two of us are instructed to split the administrative on the department side and the commissions and the board and commission side, we'll put the fire commission in the boards and commissions and the department functions under the department.
Okay. All right. So it's time for a motion?
Unless you have more discussion. I mean, you can do discussion after the motion, of course, but.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike, Art,
So move.
we have a motion by
Second.
Gilbert and a second by Garlock to accept the attorney's presentation of action item 14. Or I forget, are there any other recommendations with it or?
Well, I
amendments?
think that the recommendation number 10 was twofold. It was changing of the name, but also addressing the roles and the duties thereunder. But because it also affects commissions, I think we're going to have it impact Chapter 6 as well. And I haven't worked up language for that.
Okay, so,
If you approve it as we've discussed it, we will make sure in the final draft that you'll see the split of the
Okay.
language between the department and the commission.
so the motion will be to accept it as discussed. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay, here's some light work. Recommendation from the department had come to move the organizational structure as outlined such that the WPCA and the department head there is under the Department of Public Works and responsible to reporting to the head of the Department of Public Works. As it currently constituted, I believe it reports into engineering on paper, but that's not at all in practice how it works. I haven't worked up language that would make that change. I'm offering that as a point of discussion to see if there's appetite to do that. If so, I can.
So, Mayor, do you have an opinion on who should who they should report to? Do you have offer an opinion on that?
I think WPCA superintendent should either report to the mayor, because it's a very large department, or into Public Works. But reporting into the engineer doesn't make sense because the engineer is just focused on engineering, and they need to report into someone who's looking at the entire picture: funding, capital, personnel, and the engineer. That's not their wheelhouse.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
So, Mayor, could you please come back? So when I think about that and the title Public Works, when does it get to be too big, right? Because I myself have all these departments that report into me, and when does that get to be too big? So what is the ideal, and do we know what other municipalities may do? Because I know that department is huge.
Yes.
And Public Works.
So too big for the Public Works Commissioner or too big for me? Actually, I could go either way. The Public Works Commissioner typically has experience with stormwater management. That's actually in the job description. So for the Public Works Commissioner to oversee the WPCA, they're closer to, right, the topic. They know the topic. I'm probably going to go to the Public Works Commissioner to ask them a lot of questions anyway. But you're right. The Public Works Commissioner has engineering and highway and the fleet management and the parks and so either
What is the top title at
superintendent at WPCA.
And do we
And it
have a
has to be a class 4.
Right. And do we have a superintendent in Public Works?
It's the Public Works Commissioner. I think that's the title. That's what I
Right,
call
I
them.
was wondering, are they actually the same?
They're,
Just a
yeah,
different
their
name?
their pay is the same. Their pay is the same, but the superintendent of the WPCA typically reported into the engineer, who reports into the Public Works Commissioner. It's just not working. Doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
I could go either way. Either the WPCA superintendent reports into the Public Works Commissioner or reports into the mayor. Either way, the mayor and the Public Works Commissioner are going to make joint decisions.
Thank you.
All right, so do we have an interest in making a motion to have WPCA report to the Department of Public Works?
So moved.
Motion by Gilbert, second.
I'll second it.
Second by Mancini. Discussion.
I can't help it. That you have two titles that are the same, and one is reporting into another when, in all actuality, they appear to me to be colleagues. No, and I know, I'm just trying to say, like, how would that work? You know, unless the Public Works Commissioner becomes, you know, that there's some type of seniority. I guess I just don't see it when you move it over. And
Well,
I'm not
the
saying
Public
it
Works
shouldn't.
Commissioner is the department head.
And
And WPCA is considered a department?
Yeah. Yep. She's a department head. Public Works Commissioner is a department head. Honestly, I can go either way. I
But-
just don't want them reporting into the engineer.
Right. But it makes sense in my mind because of the operations of the WPCA that they would report to Public Works.
They would because of the technical aspect, but they are a department head, and all department heads report into the mayor. So again, I could go either way. The superintendent is a department head. She's part of my cabinet. So I guess if I look at it that way, so I have a department head group, and then I have a cabinet, right? And the cabinet is the top leaders, and I'm just using, she's a cabinet member, and he's a cabinet member. So I guess they are equal because they're both in the cabinet. So reporting into me is
So
the
does it
mayor.
make sense just to have her report to you then, like every other department head?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. There is a WPCA commission, just like there's a fire commission and a police commission. There's a WPCA commission, but she doesn't report into them. It's a different
Okay.
structure.
Different structure, you
Yeah.
said. Yeah.
So she kind of reports into me anyway. So
Okay.
I'm good with that.
So Commissioner Gilbert, would you amend your motion to reflect that the WPCA would report to the mayor as opposed to the city engineer?
Yes.
Any discussion? You'll second the amendment. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
So we can work up some language that will reflect the WPCA being a co-equal department and with department head as the DPW.
Thank you.
So if you look to your charter revision recommendations sheet, almost everything was green, and we're slowly turning the yellow into green tonight. There is but one remaining. So you've got the finish line in sight, so to speak. Recommendation number 20 came to add and make more robust existing language for departments to consult with the personnel department and the corporation council with regard to labor contracts and with regard to collective bargaining agreements.
So you do have some language that
There's some that exist in the charter now, and a lot of this will be reflective of the definition of departments, the definition of contract, and how we mean to hold all departments and department heads accountable for procurement, for hiring, for the progressive discipline that we spoke about, for firing if that should be the case, and for expenditures.
So are you saying the language already exists in the charter?
There's some, but it's not robust enough. We had tabled this while we dealt with some heavier lifts.
Yep.
This is the last to be discussed. So we haven't had a conversation. You all haven't had a conversation to get to the point where we know what refined or revised language should reflect. Right now, the issue is that some departments do and some departments don't engage the personnel department with regard to how to address union members, how to post for jobs or write job descriptions, probably more accurately, when and how discipline and progressive discipline is to be meted, coordination with the Office of Corporation Counsel with regard to contracts. We've spoken a lot about contracts, the thresholds that trigger review and presentation to City Council, but there's no mandate that contracts that are labor contracts or that are hiring contracts come before or through the Office of Corporation Counsel. Procurement through finance, yes, but not hiring.
Okay. So it makes sense for you to propose that language?
Yes, if I think it was Thursday, you all voted to have me look into something and come up with some more language, which is what we did.
Okay.
If you'd like to do that, we can do that. And
Yes.
my goal would be to find in the charter, we've already identified a number of places where this has become more robust should the City Council take it up, but specifically where we might put in some language that makes it abundantly clear that each and every department is obligated to operate in the same manner as all the others. And like I said, many of them are doing it exactly as prescribed. Some of them are not.
Right. Okay. So any discussion on this? Questions?
Yeah. I think it should be clear it's not department, it's commission or authority. So, because they're not necessarily a department. So there's, like, we just talked about the police commissioner, the fire commissioner, the ERS authority, any commissioner board that has the authority to hire. I think that they need to consult
Yes.
with personnel or corporation counsel. They don't have to make the decisions, right? But you need to consult on how do we do this termination. And sometimes that happens, and then I got to, rein it back and fix it. Not me personally, but somebody has to. So we just want to make sure.
Somebody.
Yeah. We just want to make sure that there's a legal opinion and somebody who's versed in personnel law as to what you can say and you can't say during a hiring or a termination.
Okay. So it sounds like we would agree with you to pursue language to present to us for Thursday.
That sounds great. Let me just amend. If I said departments and only departments, I guess I meant hiring and firing bodies. Departments,
Officials, departments, boards and
officials,
commissions, everybody.
et cetera.
Yes, it'll include
Everybody.
everyone. Thank you.
And
Go ahead.
thank you. And that will also include any CBA or contract that the board or commission would sign that would make the city liable for paying it.
Yeah.
So would that, us agreeing that to move forward would then just automatically add the mayor to the police department as it is for the fire department? That little
Well, the mayor,
requirement.
well, just for the record, the mayor by statute is responsible for negotiating or delegating the negotiation of all contracts, police, fire, public works, any contract. That's statutory. That's not by charter.
I mean, as far as, for like the fire chief, the police chief.
That's outside of
Those
that's outside of a
contracts.
CBA, and then
Yes.
termination is governed by state statute. Also, there's special statutes to deal with police and fire chiefs in terms of their termination.
Correct.
But in terms
I'm
of
referring to, yes, that part.
but in
where-
terms of CBAs, the mayor is the chief negotiating party by state law.
Right. I'm talking about other contracts that they
I got
sign
you.
for. Is that true? So that was my question. So now that we're saying that that's true, it will mirror what's happening, what we agreed to for the fire department.
Oh, I think what you're mentioning, what you're saying is if we structure things so that all hirings
Yes.
need to go through personnel and corporation counsel, doesn't that take care of the thing that you were talking about earlier with regard to, yes, the mayor having a hand in the hiring of? In that case, you're pointing to the fire chiefs, but you were also talking about the police chief. I think the uniqueness of your fire department and the fire departments makes it necessary to have it show up in more than one place. I think there is state statutory obligation that the mayor or designee is not only the point negotiator, but the only signatory on these agreements. So there is a catch-all there. That said, you have an opportunity now to make things more clear and abundant and obvious to those that would only look to their section of the charter, for instance. And so I don't see a need to rely on the state statute if we can make something affirmative here.
So I just want to make it clear that when it comes to Personnel Corporation Council, we want to call it a consultation because we're not looking to take the authority away from these established commissions. What we're just trying to say is don't act. Don't do anything striking related to personnel without consulting. So I think just a consulting or some sort of word that says, must.
Anything that could get us sued.
Yes.
That's where I'm thinking.
Yeah, me too, always. That's exactly my point. We've got best practices. Personnel department has best practices. I defer to personnel department. My office does in many regards with relationships that are governed by collective bargaining agreements. We have very seasoned outside labor counsel as well that handles a lot of these things. What I'm suggesting isn't language that my desk or that personnel desk shall be the final determination of progressive discipline, for instance, or hiring or firing, but rather that we make sure that it's part of the process, A, for coordination efforts, but B, to make sure that everybody understands that which is being expected of them.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
So, not to be handled tonight, but operationally, there are some things that still are contradictory, right? So, there's still two departments that, under the charter, you're going to reiterate that they're departments, that they really don't act completely as city departments. One partially, that being the Board of Education, right?
Yes.
And one is completely independent, which is the Village Improvement Association, right? They hire their own people. They negotiate their own contracts. They do all of that, even
Yes.
though that we're identifying that they're going to be a city department.
Yes. My expectation is that they won't do that like that anymore. I think I've said this, but I'll say it bluntly since we're getting towards the end here. If you're obligating city money that comes from a presentation stamped or approved by the council, then that obligation of city money needs to come with the hiring, procurement, contracting regulations that everybody else does.
And more importantly to underscore the point of the Corporation Council, the liabilities that they create are municipal liabilities. They're not association liabilities. And I think it's very important to take that step. In fact, in some ways, it's more important than the Board of Ed because I think there's very, very clear case law on the Board of Ed in the state of Connecticut. It's nice to have the charter align with the case law, but with this association that you have an organization that takes public monies but operates as if it's a private entity. And so I think the steps you're taking here, and if we add language to the effect of recommendation number 20, I think you'll be tightening that up considerably.
Thank you. Mayor?
So I understand what you're saying, right? So the Village Improvement Association and the Board of Ed, we're defining them as a department, but we don't weigh in. But state statute specifically says the elected Board of Education members hire or terminate the superintendent. The superintendent hires or terminates or progressive discipline all the members of the Board of Education. So that's clear. Those are their rules. Village Improvement, I think we need to check what their charter is, right? Because they have a board that makes those decisions. So I don't know that when it comes to consulting, if that's what we're talking about, consulting with personnel and corporation counsel, if those two entities would fall under that. Because they have different governing bodies. You think?
My answer would be with the Board of Ed, very definitely they should. Very often they do not. They are very clearly a department of the city. There's case law that says they should follow the personnel policies of the municipality, the procurement policies of the municipality. There are some collective bargaining. For example, the pension portion of their items have to come to the city council for approval. So there's very clear administrative obligations there. What they do have, Mayor, as you correctly stated, they have the ability to hire their school superintendent. They have the ability to engage in the TNA, Teacher Negotiating Act items. So they have those in the firing of the school superintendent. But in general, you can adopt policies that would affect them. The library, most libraries are departments. And what's not clear here is, I think all we're trying to do here, or the commission is trying to do, is to say that this association, whatever it may be, needs to be treated like a department, meaning at least at this point, they need to submit a budget with line items so that you get to see what they're doing. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we've had council, if Corp Council is actually connected with the council for the association, but it'll be curious to see what they have to say about it when this goes to the city council. We'll get a better
Board
sense
of
of
Ed's a
it.
little tricky because if they terminated somebody and it wasn't for some reason appropriate, or and there's a suit, at the end of the day, it is the city that pays, right? We manage their workers' compensation, so yeah.
Presumably have an insurance policy, and I don't know if they indemnify you, but certainly I think the liabilities are city liabilities. So the extent that we can, through this charter revision, get a handle on it, I think that's the intent of what everybody's trying to do here.
Yes.
Okay, so we look forward to your proposed language for Thursday. The other thing that I wanted to say, under number 10, the Allentown Commission roles and duties, see proposed language. Where is that language?
That's the second staple bit that I just handed out to you.
Okay, thank you. I also would like to get a motion that the commission approve of the reorganization of the charter that's been presented by the attorneys.
Motion.
A motion by Member Hosky, second by Member Garlock. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Do you have anything else?
That's it for now. On Thursday, you'll have language to those three discussion items that will then turn into action items. We're talking about the fire district, the WPCA, and lastly, hiring and firing entities with consultation on personnel and Corp Council. I think next you want to discuss the remaining schedules.
So on Thursday, if I may, Mr. Corp Counsel, Mr. Chair, on Thursday we will also provide you with. I gave you an updated charter today. We didn't give you a red line because I was holding off on the red line until we had just about everything approved, with the exception of the items that the Corp Council just talked about. I will consider what we've done now is approved about 95%, 97%
Yes.
of the items we're going to deal with. So I'm going to create the red line for you to see on Thursday. And that red line, with a couple changes that we make on Thursday, will be the document that the public sees for the public hearing. Once that's finalized, the chair is asked, and I will, over the weekend, prepare kind of the list of what's in the charter revision, chapter by chapter, so that it'll be an accompanying document, so the members of the public can look at the red line, look at the clean document, and see the list of what we've done.
So when can we expect that summary?
I'll work on that over the weekend, and we'll have it distributed to you well prior to the public hearing. So
Okay,
that
because we do want to, I had talked to Mike Walsh about doing a press release and including that summary.
then my objective will be to get it in your hands by Monday, if that's possible.
Okay,
All right.
it's possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other business come before this commission?
Scheduling.
Scheduling, yes. So we have the 14th,
You will meet this Thursday.
this Thursday.
That meeting has been noticed.
Yep. The 21st is the public input meeting.
You're committed to a draft after the Thursday meeting.
We're going to approve a draft of our recommendations to the council.
That's a draft of the report, not a draft of the charter.
Yes, correct.
A draft of the report that will be issued in advance of the public hearing such that folks can familiarize themselves if they'd like to.
Yep.
You will be open to public comment on the 21st and then meet again and issue your final report, having taken in public comment, should there be any,
On the 28th.
on the 28th. The 29th, I think, is your final report due, and the 28th, I think, is your final meeting.
So hopefully there won't be a lot to do between that approval and the next day.
Yes,
We're
correct.
right up against the deadline there.
Yes.
I'm happy to tell you, and I'm sure Councilman Quagliani can go into more detail if you'd like, but Monday night city council meeting, I spoke with members to let them know that they should expect a draft to come out by the end of this week, and they should avail themselves of the opportunity to familiarize themselves with that draft because although we are open to and welcome public input, and that may change some or much of the language, or may even come up with new ideas that we haven't addressed. Should it not, we don't want to miss the opportunity to take advantage of that time.
So what will be published on the city website for the public to view?
What will be published will be the draft charter is the report.
Okay.
And you'll have a red line and you'll have a clean version of it.
Okay.
And then by Monday, I'll have the list, and we could publish that on the city website as well.
Yes.
Which will be kind of a handy guide to go through the charter revision.
Okay.
And I'll do it chapter by chapter.
And the purpose of that is to inform the public. It shouldn't be lost that members of city council are electors and members of the public. They have an outsized role in this process, of course, beyond just the electorate. But what we'd like to do is try to overlap some of these weeks where possible, and I think this is a good opportunity to do so. Going forward, it's Thursdays from here on out for you until your job is done. And again, I commend you. If you look at this sheet, which is now numbered 1 through 23, I think we were in the 30s when we started, and none of it was green. Now I'm happy to report that except for the things that we've realized we can do through ordinance, all of these are green now, which is to say that you considered, discussed them, and worked them up in a way that you were all satisfied that they can be part of a recommendation in a report. Now you want to communicate that to everybody possible. So on Thursdays, consecutive now the next 3, you'll meet back here, and posting what your draft is lets everybody know what it is you've been working on this entire time. Then as we get into, using a tennis metaphor, batting the ball on the other side of the net here, it's not to say that you can withdraw entirely, right? Because you'll be expecting another report that comes back, recommendations, notes, comments that comes back from city council. And then you'll be taking that up to address. We've talked about what your options are at that point. They're more limited. But setting meeting times for that afterwards as well is something that we should at least workshop while we've got time.
Okay.
The other thing, Mr. Chair, is I think we've talked to you about is that when this goes to the council, I don't know if these are definitive dates, but there will be, is it the 10th that's the first time we come to the council? We'll be presenting at the council on the 10th, June 10 and 11. And so the expectation, Mr. Chairman, is maybe you and the vice chair would at the very least need to be at that meeting
Okay.
to make the presentation. Both your attorneys will be there, the Corporation Counsel and Commission Counsel, to be of assistance. And that will begin the process of walking the council through the documents. The result of that interchange of ideas, as the Corp Council was pointing out, will be a decision by the City Council as to whether or not they need to make any further recommendations back to you. It could be as simple as we don't like the title that you had for a section. It could be as complex as we want to have a town manager form of government. I don't expect that to happen, but I'm just saying those are the extremes of what could occur. Highly unlikely that we'd go change the structure of government, but whatever it may be. And at the end of that process, they have a public hearing where they will present their proposed recommendations, if any, to the public, and then they will meet within 14 days after that, probably shorter than that, because I think they're trying to get this done in the month of June,
Yes.
if possible. And they will then come back to you with the recommendations. And under the statute, there is, while you're going to be appearing before them, that's not a statutory requirement. Under the statute, there is a requirement for the council chair and the leadership to appear with you in kind of a joint meeting where they call it a conferral meeting, where they present their recommendations. And it's during both those processes, I strongly recommend that you as chair and the chair of the council maintain open dialogue, both in public and in private, to make sure that we are moving along in the same direction. Particularly where there's alignment, we should make sure the alignment works completely. Where there are disconnects, we should see what we can do to mediate the disconnects so that we don't run into problems as we go through the process. When it comes back to you, just to finish the point the Corp Council was making, you can only deal with their recommendations, period. You then send the final report back to them with your treatment of the recommendations, and presumably there would be the dialogue, and it'll be a pretty good situation. And then they can only vote up or down, in whole or in part, on everything that's in your final report. So they can't add anything, they can't amend anything, they can't modify anything. And so and then once they approve it, if they approve it, they then have to come up with the questions for the ballot. And that's the end of the process. The moment that they approve or disapprove, you're out of business. You're gone. You're finished.
Okay.
So that's where we are.
So, you expect us to meet, have at least one meeting in June after they send their recommendations back?
I would think at least one, maybe two. I've never had a situation, not true. Stanford, I had a horrible situation, but I've never had a situation where we've had more than 2 or 3 meetings. The conferral meeting will get a lot done. If there's not a lot of dramatic change, we might get it done in one meeting. What we might have to do is you might have to instruct the lawyers to fix it up, clean it up, and then have a second meeting.
Right.
But I think 2 or 3 meetings would probably be in July. You would have, and we'll get it done, and then get back to the council, and then they get it taken care of in July or early August.
Tentative dates for those meetings are June 10. These are city council meetings.
10 and 11.
June 10 and June 11. The public hearing on June 18. And then a meeting the week after public hearing, the week of June 22. I don't know if you all have settled on a date or that week. 24th?
Yes, yeah. Chairman Vargo.
6:18 is the public hearing?
Yes. 10, 11.
I got it. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Christopher Vargo, Jr., 31 Hilltop Lane, Chairman of the City Council. Just to reiterate, at the June 10th meeting, we're going to be starting at 7 o'clock. That's a City Council meeting. City Council will be in caucus before then to start discussing some of the changes. So it's actually would not be my expectation to have a full presentation because I think that's going to eat up a lot of time. I'm going to expect that the City Council reviews the document and we have that discussion beforehand so we can kind of get our heads together. So what I'd like to do is perhaps just go right into the dialogue unless there's something very specific that you, Mr. Chair, wants to highlight, but I don't think that we need to go point by point and take up almost a whole night.
Yeah,
the next
right.
night we're going to start at 6 o'clock. So we'll have those 2 meetings, and then we'll have the public hearing the week after, and then the week after that, I believe it's the 24th, Stacy, if we did that right, would be our final night. And I did leave a little bit of room that week that I could call in a special meeting if I need to,
Okay.
if there's enough work.
So the 24th, not the 22nd?
It's the week of the 22nd.
Oh, the weekend.
Right.
It would be the 24th, though.
24th is the date you're looking at, though.
The 24th is the date I'm looking at. We did build in the possibility that we could have a meeting the day before
Right.
if we
Okay.
need it.
And the public input hearing and the 24th would be at 7 o'clock?
No, the public hearing, I believe, is at 6:30, and that's on the 18th.
Okay.
So the first night, the 10th, is at 7 o'clock because I wanted to have the council have an opportunity to discuss in caucus. And then the 11th, we would start, I believe, at 6:30. Then the 18th at 6:30, and the 24th also at 6:30 with the option of having an earlier meeting that week.
Okay. And you would like me and or my vice chair, the 10th and 11th meeting?
I would appreciate that, yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Will you get that updated list out, Art, of all those dates?
Yes.
And through you, Mr. Chair, may I ask a question of Attorney Bednick?
Sure.
I just want clarification because for some reason I can't wrap my head around this. Once the city council sends back its recommendations, and I understand that the CRC is confined to that, then we receive their final report. Is the city council absolutely confined to that final report, or do we have the latitude to make changes and then not after that final?
Yeah. Their last time to have the broad ability to give you documents is when they send the draft report to you. You then have total ability to make any changes, any recommendations during that period that you'll be getting this in June. Once you send it, the recommendations to them, let's say there's 10, 6, 30, whatever it may be, they can only deal with that. And then when they send it back to you, you can't amend it in any way, shape, or form. You could just go up or down.
It's just a
on the
thumbs up,
elements.
thumbs down.
Thumbs up or thumbs down on individual items that can be segmented.
Okay, thank you. That helps.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so any other discussion on schedule? We'll get out a list of those dates. We know our dates for May, right?
You have
We have
May 14th.
this Thursday, 14th, next Thursday, the 21st, and the Thursday following that, the 28th. All, I believe, at 6 o'clock.
Thing, on your 21st meeting, which is your public hearing, also notice a meeting after the public hearing. So if the public hearing is not an extensive event, so you don't have a lot of people, and we have an opportunity to meet that evening, to be able to get a little jump on what changes we might or might not want to make would be helpful, especially with the way we have it scheduled where the final meeting is the night before the due date on the report. So I would recommend on the 21st that you notice the public hearing and a committee meeting to follow, the commission meeting to follow that.
I have a quick question about the public hearing.
Yes, go ahead.
Do I need to notice the public hearing in any special way? It doesn't have to be put as a legal notice in the newspaper or anything like that?
If that's what you do in town, do it. It's not required statutorily or legally. But if that's the way you think you'll reach the most people, then you should do that. But it's not required. I'll defer to the Corp Counsel on that.
No, I agree with Attorney Mednick. What you want to do is that which has been customary, with an eye towards, as I said, trying to get people to understand what you're doing, get the word out, not just get the vote out, right? But you shouldn't be treating these meetings as different from any other public hearings or public meetings.
Okay, so the public hearing, typically, I'm just in, what happens in the city council public hearings is we notice a public hearing and sometimes nobody comes.
Yeah.
So should I notice the public hearing at 6 o'clock and then our regular special meeting at
Yeah.
like 6:05? And it could carry if people do come.
You could say 6:05 or following the public hearing.
Following the public hearing,
Okay.
yes.
Can I
Like,
could I have it on the same agenda? I could. Okay.
I should go on the record. Yeah, you can do a notice of public hearing and meeting, and the agenda would be item 1, public hearing,
And then
item 2,
what we're doing.
meeting of the commission to follow the public hearing.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Last question for Attorney Mednick has been asked of me a couple of different times, so I just want to ask it and get the answer on the record. When we're having public hearings and we're noticing and we're publishing documents, what documents are required to be published, and what's the time frame around the statutory requirement for publication?
The document should be out at least 24 hours before the meeting. Our intent is to get the documents out by the end of this week, which will be well in advance of the public hearing. There's no specific requirement. I believe that you should publish everything that the commission has done. The report, the red line report, will be all the work of the commission. We will do as I told the chair, promised the chair for Monday, I will have a summary of the list of items that have been addressed by the commission. I think that should be published, and the clean version of the charter, so somebody can find all the semicolons that are missing and the letters that are missing in words. They'll be able to come back and give us their recommendations on errata changes in the document. So that's what's required. But there's no time frame requirement other than the FOIA requirements of 24 hours before the meeting. Okay. But we'll be well in advance of that. I don't like. I've had commissions report things out 48 hours before a public hearing. I don't endorse that concept, but sometimes I don't control my clients.
Okay. Attorney Cassini, so will you be getting the draft
Yes.
be put on the city website?
Yes. Will I effectuate that to Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
The broadcast? Yes.
Thank you.
As I've told you, I plan to utilize each and every channel that we have available to us.
Right.
So that's the website, that's physical publication and stacks downstairs for people who want to stop by and pick it up. And that will be your regular means and methods. In this case, I know we spoke about the cost of newspaper publishing. Some things rise to the level of import. I believe that this does.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. Yes, you may.
With your permission, Mr. Chairman, may I ask
Yes.
a question of Attorney Mednick?
Absolutely.
You had mentioned a meet and confer meeting between the two bodies, or at the very least, the two chairs. Could you explain the timeline for that? Because I'm just trying to wrap my head around when all the drop dead dates are.
Yeah, when you send the document back to the council, I'm assuming that sometime during the month of June, Chair Kelly and yourself, Mr. Chair, will be meeting pretty regularly. As we see that we are able to get this done for the 23rd, which is you're aiming for, right? The 23rd or the 24th, whatever it is that we're aiming for. We would then set up a meeting that works for both bodies, and then just notice, both bodies would notice the meeting and convene the two bodies. I imagine we'll do it in here, and you guys will be sitting at your table. Maybe we'll have another table brought in for the commission, where both bodies work together at that meeting. So the expectation is that we would do it shortly after your report. So if we see that this is being done by the Tuesday of that week, with the permission of the commission and the chair, why don't we just meet on the Wednesday or Thursday of that week?
Okay, so that's after the city council
submits
its recommendations and requests.
Yeah, you'll submit to the town clerk, and give it a day, and then the commission could a day thereafter could convene with you. That's just my thought. Is I think everybody wants to minimize. Try to keep out of July as much as we can. You're going to go into July a little bit, but I think the more we can compress this into the month of June, I think the better off we'll be.
And that's a workshop for the two bodies to try to finalize the.
That's a
final
full
language.
meeting of the two bodies where they will be discussing. You'll be talking about why you made the recommendations. We'll go back and forth, and since you're all sharing the same attorneys, both of us will be well versed in what everybody's trying to accomplish. And hopefully we would be able to get an awful lot done at that meeting.
And then after the CRC votes on the final document, what's the timeline for the city council?
Once they vote on the final document, you have 15 days. to vote on it from the time of receipt.
Okay, so we have to make sure that that is.
We'll
the
make sure.
chairs and the chair and I have to make sure that.
Yeah.
We'll keep you. We'll keep, do not worry. I had a mishap, not me personally, in one of my early charters in the city of New Britain in the 1990s, when I was a little boy of age 42 or whatever I was at the time, and back then I was not involved the way we do this now, and we're very lucky, by the way, to have a corp counsel. He's been a great partner in this transaction. I don't often have somebody like Kevin to play this role, but back then I exclusively represented the commission, sent the thing over to the council. The council had the in-house corporation counsel. They managed it. I gave them a very detailed letter. You got to get this done by this date and this date and this, and all the dates in there. And I kept bugging them, and it didn't get done. And the council missed the date. And since that time, I have been vigilant about staying on top of things. And over the years, I've worked out a methodology where I basically keep involved in the entire process so that we don't run into that problem. So I want to assure the chair of the council that we will be working with you to make sure.
I'm just worried about vacations.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Make sure I have enough people.
I get it. So we will just work it and get it done.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
Chairman Vargo and I would be in constant communication once they start meeting.
And if everybody could look at the names on here
Yes,
to make sure that everything is correct.
we have a spelling error.
I'm sure there are, but so if you, or tell me, should we do it now or
Let's do it now. Yeah.
okay?
Bridget,
Bridget has 2 T's
Oop.
and then an E.
Oh boy, sorry, Bridget.
No,
I'm
it's
very
okay.
sorry.
BRIDGETTE.
Got it. Anybody else?
how come there's only chair under my name, not chairman? Only kidding.
Ah,
That's because the charter changed that, Mr. Chair.
We got to laugh.
Any middle
Okay.
initials or everything else is okay? And I haven't met this guy named Vacancy. Do we know? No, I'm sorry.
You just change mine to Anthony.
We'll get to
Anthony,
meeting
I'm
with him.
sorry.
Anthony A. Mancini.
Okay, thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Anybody else? You want to be Bridget J? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Member Hosky and Garlic, motion and second. So we'll adjourn. All in favor of adjourning the meeting at 9:48, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.